So what we're going to cover today is an overview of the various periods of ancient Greek history, starting with the Bronze Age, which is the earliest. This period encompasses the era in which the Minoans were in power, as well as the Mycenaeans around these time periods. The Mycenaeans, of course, took over the Minoan territory, but also absorbed a lot of their ideas and cultural features, and were able to expand on it. Of course, they're also referred to as the Achaeans and known for their great cities and monuments. This is also the period, the Mycenaean period, in which the mythological Trojan War depicted in the Iliad and the Odyssey takes place. And of course, this period is succeeded by the Dark Age that is caused by the Dorian invasions. Okay, so we're out of the Bronze Age and we go into the Dark Age. And one other interesting point is the Minoan downfall is due in part to not just the Mycenaeans, but also the volcanic eruption which happened around 1500 BC on the island of Thera, or modern-day Santorini. The Dark Age in ancient Greek history is a period in which really society takes a step back, cities are abandoned, and no really massive building projects take place during this period. Instead, like the Dark Ages, or what's referred to as the Dark Ages later on in Western European history, people move into the countryside, or in the case of Greece, they move into the islands for refuge, protection, and survival. There's not an emphasis of building, there's not an emphasis of writing, or any kind of the innovations and technologies that come out of the earlier period. However, by 800 BC, the Dark Age comes to an end. Civilization in ancient Greece is kind of resurrected or jump-started. The Ionians of Asia Minor, the Greeks who've inhabited that area, many of them can trace their ancestry back to migration periods in the Dark Age, are credited for really bringing back a lot of the skills and technologies. And that brings us into the Archaic Age, archaic meaning like ancient, old. And this period is from around 700 BC to, or the 700s BC, 700s BC, I should be more specific, to about 480 BC. This marks the beginning of the Greek city-state, or what we call the Greek polis. Also the growth in Greek population, which leads to the diaspora and the formation of Greek colonies throughout the Mediterranean world, especially in the areas around the Black Sea and southern Italy, which will later on become known as Magna Graecia. These colonies will morph into their own cities, and they themselves will play a very pivotal role both in Greek history and later Roman history as well. The Archaic period, which ends around 480 BC, you can say marking the end of the Persian War, sparks the Classical period, which is what most people, when it comes to ancient Greek history, are familiar with. This is the period in which we have the Golden Age of Athens, a period of immense creativity, monumental building projects such as the Parthenon, the emphasis of theatrical plays, the emphasis of philosophy, Western philosophy, you can say, is rooted in this period. Although it didn't start here, it really took on a whole new height with the philosophers such as Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. This is also the period in which we have the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta, kind of a rivalry within the Greek world for supremacy. And it really continues all the way into the 300s BC, where by then the legacy of Alexander the Great and his empire building bring us to the Hellenistic period, which is a period of also great creativity that is much bigger in terms of encompasses the empire that stretches from Greece all the way to India, but also a period of great cultural ideas and exchanges. You could say that this is also the beginning of multiculturalism in the ancient world. So that concludes a brief history of the different time periods in the ancient Greek world.